back, NBA world, to another episode of Spittin Hoops, our weekly NBA podcast, where we discuss everything that's happening in the NBA, specifically the playoffs currently, the best playoffs that I've seen in my lifetime so far. And it's like 5 games in. I need a pacemaker for my Warriors Kings series. Anthony, obviously your Celtics got through. How are you feeling, man?
I'll give you my pacemaker, honestly, because that was ridiculous. I'm very glad that we're done. I'm excited for us to move on, and now I can actually make fun of the Bucks. My mood today was completely dependent on how yesterday's game went. So for a while, it was looking like I was going to come here in a pretty low mood, but we pulled it out. Nobody got injured, so I'm happy that we're moving on.
Dope. Yeah, I mean, wild series. A little bit iffy. That Trey step back though was so clean. I don't even like Trey like that. But it was so clean. I was like, this is great.
And everybody knew in the building it was going in.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. It was insane. Are you gonna go to any of these games? Like, are you trying to go to any of these games coming up or no?
Bro, I want to go so badly. They're just so expensive.
Yeah, Do you see the Warriors King series? It's like minimum tickets like $400 or something at Chase Center. It's like, yeah, I'm not going.
Bro, I'm pretty sure I saw there was a Timberwolves Nuggets series for like $30.
We'll get to that series in a bit. But we're actually going to start this episode off with a totally different topic, not relating to the playoffs at all, just because Anthony and I were talking about this, jumping into this. Yes, a little bit of a curveball here. Ime Udoka got picked up as the Rockets coach. Obviously, there was a lot of controversy with that previously, so we just kind of wanted to touch on that before we get in the whole playoffs thing. Just get this out of the way, and then we'll focus on the playoffs from here. But
yeah. So for Ime, moral questions aside, because don't really feel like getting into that on the podcast. As a coach, what he did for the Celtics last year was absolutely incredible. The fact that they were 3 games under 500 in January, were able to flip that switch, focusing specifically on defense. If he can bring that kind of energy and passion to a Rockets team that's really young, has a lot of talent, especially on the offensive end, if he can bring that to a team that really does have a lot of potential and they're going to get a great draft pick, I think that it could be very beneficial for them going forward. Houston's an interesting city for Ime to end up in. I'm sure that he will also enjoy a lot of the outside of the basketball related activities there. Yeah. But I'm very curious to see how this goes. I know that his name was circling around a lot of teams too.
Yeah, I was kind of curious. I thought, he was linked to the Raptors for a bit, but the Raptors don't feel like a team that's going to go pick up a guy like Ime coming off a controversy like that. But I'll kind of touch on the morality of it. I mean, what happened was like pretty messed up. Like the whole Celtic situation and it getting leaked also sucked to, like, I assume for his family and stuff. It kind of could have been dealt in house. But of course the Rockets, man, like it's hilarious to me. I don't know. I'm not saying it's like doomed. Like, I think Ime is like a fantastic coach, right? But it just feels like, I don't know. Of course, the Rockets are going to pick up the coach who just got suspended for a year. Also, I am a little curious, like the Rockets floor spacing, not really something that they did very well. The Celtics, that is something they did very well with Ime, despite having, Rob Williams, who's like a non-shooter, right? They still managed to play around that really well. So I'm really curious actually about Şengün. I think this is going to be great for Şengün. I am a little curious about like Jalen Green and those guys. The Celtics didn't really have perimeter scorers, so I don't really guard scorers, I should say. You guys definitely had perimeter scorers, but you guys didn't really have guard scorers, so I'm a little bit, I don't know about that. I just don't know. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Seems like KPJ, Jalen Green, those kind of guys are maybe higher offensive ceilings than a Derek White, Malcolm Brogdon, Marcus Smart. The guards that we're talking about on the Celtics definitely have more of a balance of offense and defense, which really translated when they got going with Ime.
Yeah, but I do like the idea of picking up a defensive kind of space, like offensive floor spacing and then defensive coach. I think that's like a great idea for the Rockets. Like, I think that's like the type of coach you would want to go with. right? So
yeah, just maybe, not specifically him.
yeah, exactly. Like if Nick Nurse is, I just wonder how much you paid this guy compared to whatever Nick Nurse is going to get. I do think Nick Nurse might even take a year off because whenever he comes back, he's going to get 20 million a year, basically, but I don't know. That's just kind of where my curiosity lies. And also, could you have just gotten Frank Vogel? Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys. I think the big thing that Ime gets from a lot of players is he's such a players coach that can really buy in. And that was the reason why the Celtics weren't really vibing with Brad Stevens as their coach anymore. Not because Brad Stevens is a bad coach. It just didn't seem like they were really able to hear the message he was trying to bring, which Ime was able to bring out of those players. And we saw how much respect the Rockets had for Paul Silas this year. So maybe the Rockets logic was like, okay, you have absolutely anti-respect for Paul Silas. Let's go in the complete opposite way. And let's get a guy that is so well respected, at least players wise. And they can buy in. These are young guys too. So
was it Steven Silas? Was it Steven Silas or Paul Silas?
Oh, it might have been Steven Silas. Yeah, I'm thinking of
no, but regardless, I agree. That whole coaching situation was weird. He was brought in to coach a winning team, and then 6 months later, they're rebuilding completely. I feel very bad for him. I actually hope he gets another chance. Just the way it ended up, like, I don't know. He low-key should have stepped down, like at the beginning, like before this year, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But like hindsight's 2020, whatever. Okay, that's enough talking about Ime and the Rockets. Yeah, let's get into the playoffs. We're going to give you our series reactions. So I think before we recorded the last pod, the Nets 76ers series was already done. So yeah, so we already covered that, but we're basically just going to run through every series that is either going on or has been finished since the last pod, and then we'll cover the next series that we know are coming up. Let's start with the Heat and the Bucks. Anthony, take us away.
Yes, sir. I prepared a little poem for our fans here.
No way.
All right. It's called Jimmy. Oh dear, that's enough. Jimmy bout to shoot a buck. Fourth quarter fired up. Coach Bud out of luck. If Jimmy gonna beat the Timberwolves with a tryout team, Milwaukee better go and learn what timeouts mean. Essentially, to say that
bars, yo, dude, that's a throwback, bro. That was also one of the best moments ever in the NBA,
right? So for folks who don't know that reference, that was when Jimmy was on the Timberwolves and he beat the starters with the third string. I think he's completely transformed his perception of a bad team, and I think he was already doing that anyways. I saw Jay Williams had been talking about Jimmy Butler having been the best player in the playoffs for the last 4 seasons. So I just want to kind of jump straight into that. It's incredible what he's doing. He's been the best player in the playoffs, I would say, easily. Right now, averaging 38, 6, 5, 2 steals a game, 60% from the floor, 44% from 3-point range as a 19% or something shooter this season. Absolutely. I'm so glad the Celtics avoided them. I'm so glad the Hawks beat the Heat in the play-in game, because that would have sucked for us. I think we might have pulled it out, but still, just based on how the Bucks kind of fumbled that bag, the Bucks easily could have been up 3-2 in the series. Yeah. Double-digit deficits in back-to-back fourth quarters that Jimmy just literally went in and said, okay, cool, I'm happy regardless of where we are. So I'm curious what you have to say, because I could ramble on about this guy forever.
I mean, I love Jimmy Butler, to be honest. Like, he is one of my favorite players to watch. Like, I've been a big fan of him since he was on the Bulls. Like, I was also never of the camp where, like, Jimmy Butler is, like, doing too much. Like, he was on the T-Wolves with Towns and Wiggins, and they couldn't win anything. And then, like, he was right? And then he goes to the 76ers. He doesn't get re-signed, kind of calls out a lot of problems they had in the background, and he was right. Like, gets to the Heat, leads them to a finals further than anyone that he ever even played with before got to, basically. I don't know. Love the guy. This is incredible. They could get swept by the Knicks, and he's already in the Hall of Fame. Like, between this playoffs and what's happened before, just off narrative, this guy is a Hall of Fame player. And I know that's probably pretty bold. Like he's still got to play, you know, and finish out his career. But incredible, to be honest.
Right. And on your note about that, looking at 6-time All-Star, 4-time All-NBA. Likely, we both predict him being an All-NBA guy this year, so probably 5-time All-NBA. Yeah. So that's pretty good. Dominique Wilkins has never led a team to the NBA Finals before. Jimmy's led multiple teams to the Eastern Conference Finals. Was one terrifying three.
T-Mac's in the Hall of Fame. Jimmy Butler should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So
no flame of T-Mac. I know he averaged like 36 in one season, but like Jimmy Butler's the impact that Jimmy Butler has had over the story of the NBA over the last like 7 years is incredible. It's like so many plot lines have changed because of Jimmy Butler. It's fantastic. I don't know.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that he wasn't expected to be in the conversation. I think that really bothers people a lot. Steph Curry low-key had this effect too back in 2014-15 because it was kind of KD LeBron, and Steph said, "Hey guys, I'm here," and just inserted himself into the conversation to the begrudging response of many NBA fans. But that's kind of what Jimmy's been doing to a lesser extent here.
Yeah, and I can't believe the 76ers didn't re-sign him. Like I still, because even though they re-signed Toby and they had Ben Simmons and they had Joel Embiid, the reason they didn't re-sign him is because their ownership didn't want to pay luxury tax. So like a lot of people blame the GM and whatnot, but like the fact that they were faced with a decision to keep Jimmy Butler and not because of luxury tax reasons is insane. And this is what you get. You get Jimmy Butler spanking the East for the next 4 years, going further than the 76ers ever did. So,
yeah.
And
will.
And what?
And will in my mind, but we'll get to that series later on.
Oh, dude. Okay. I think I know what you're saying, but I don't know. Let's talk about the Bucks though, really quick. We should cover that. Obviously, so they lose in 5. They're the number 1 seed in the NBA. NBA play. Were they the number 1 seed in the whole league? Like
yeah.
Best record. They have the player that Anthony and I ranted to you guys all for like 2 straight podcasts saying he was the best player in the league. They lose in 5 games. Just a total collapse. Coach Bud, we've seen a lot of time management problems from him previously, and honestly strategy problems too. But this was a lot before he won his first chip. And we kind of like forgot about it for a bit, and it just reared its ugly head 2 days ago. And I think he should get fired. I think he will get fired. It's a failure of a season. I know what Giannis said, and I thought it was amazing what Giannis said. Like, I actually think that mindset is beautiful, and the way he spoke about that interview question, was this season a failure or not? I thought that was great, but it was a failure of a season, and there has to be like next moves. Yeah, I don't know. Also, my Brook Lopez is a fraud in the playoff take. It's just so on point. The guy can't switch, so I don't know.
I'm with you. I don't know if he's going to get fired. I think that they should really look into it. They just made no adjustments when the Heat made their adjustments. Spo completely outcoached Bud here. Spo is definitely in that top 15 for coaches. Well deserved of all time.
Well deserved, dude. This Heat team is not good. Max Strus is playing with Gabe Vincent is the second best player in a closeout game.
Literally, it's insane. Yeah, I think Bud got some runway for having won the championship.
Absolutely.
So that definitely helped, but it felt like, and I agree with what you were saying about Giannis's take at the podium. As a person, yeah, that's totally true. LeBron said the same thing after they lost to the Mavs in 2011. At the end of the day, I'm still
Jordan said the same stuff when he lost in 89, 88, and 90. He said this was a great season, it shows we're up and coming. It's just steps to winning. That's basically like, sorry.
But like you're saying, I mean, let's think of I could, I feel like we could argue that the Magic had a more successful season than maybe not the Magic necessarily, but they got in a good direction. You could argue the Thunder had a more successful season than the Bucks did, given where they could have gone with the talent that they had.
Yeah.
So it's a failure in terms of sports, not a failure in terms of life. And I don't think, and that's the thing that's like a bit. It's like a bit of like, okay, Giannis, yeah, like so what? Like, yeah, nobody is calling you as a human a failure.
Yeah.
I would still argue the best player in the NBA. But now, I mean, it's kind of we're on like a shuffling board right now, right? Where it could be Giannis, it could be KD, it could be Steph. I mean, Jimmy's trying to poke his head in that conversation.
What? Durant?
Yeah, higgity diggity.
Kevin, what?
No.
Put him in the same breath as Steph Curry.
Yeah. But I will say, just for some quick historical background. So this is the 6th time that a 1 seed has lost to an 8 seed. The other 5 times were in the 94 season. The Nuggets beat the Sonics. Yeah, in the 99 season, the Knicks, who actually made it to the NBA Finals that year, beat the Heat, I think. And then in 27, your squad takes down the Mavericks. And then 2011, the Grizzlies beat the Spurs, which was a crazy series. I remember that one. They beat them in 6. And then the
2012, D-Rose.
D-Rose gets hurt. So that one's a bit of an asterisk, but still. So only 6 times has this happened, but it's never happened like this. What? 20? No. That was the 5.
Was there one?
2012.
Yeah, no, I'm faded then. For some reason, I thought there was one in the bubble or something, but I might be tripping.
There were some upsets, but I don't think there were like.
Yeah, that's fine.
There was no one.
No, I believe you. I believe you. But yeah, continue.
But yeah, no, just crazy that they're the 6th team, and I think this is probably the worst one because you lose this one in 5, and you're that much more projected to win the championship. So just pretty crazy from a historical perspective.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's awesome because this Heat, it's hilarious actually. I don't know if it's awesome, but this Heat team, right? They like don't show us anything for the whole season. They would have been lost in like the NBA history like archives had they won their playing game, because it probably would have lost to the Celtics, to be honest. But they lose the playing game, they play the Bucks, they win the 8-1 series, and now like this team is going to be in the history books. This Jimmy Butler series is going to be looked upon like for a long time. Again, they could get swept by the Knicks and people would love it. Okay, let's move on. I feel like we've talked about that series enough. Cavs Knicks. I could not have been more wrong about this series. I wouldn't say even hit the nail on the head, but you were more in line with what happened. The Knicks went in 5. They outclassed the Cavs by the end of the series.
Yeah, they completely outplayed them. Jalen Brunson in back-to-back seasons has outplayed Donovan Mitchell in a playoff series. I had them in 7. I thought it was going to be a closer game. I thought the bigs on the Cavs were going to be able to kind of stifle the bigs on the Knicks, but David Robinson has been incredible for the Knicks, man. Not David Robinson. Mitchell Robinson has been incredible for the Knicks. I can't tell the difference between the two sometimes. But I just think RJ's resurgence has been awesome. 17-4 for the series. Josh Hart was such a stud. 12-8 on 56% shooting and 45% from 3. But a lot of that didn't really show up in the stat sheet. He just was there at the right times, making the right plays consistently. Right. Well, RJ Barrett misses that 3. Josh Hart gets that crazy offensive rebound, kicks it out to Jalen Brunson. Bang, game. And Jalen Brunson was a stud this series, 24, 4, 5, and 2. Just completely manhandled the Cavs. I will say I don't really know how much Randall moves the needle for the Knicks. I know that you have an interesting take on Randall there. He kind of gives me Kyrie vibes in terms of can put up like good stats. But does not really. They won in spite of him. He had a lot of bad games, so very impressive for the Knicks here.
I completely agree. The take that you're referring to is like Mitchell Robinson, right, in the regular season, he doesn't have like a vast array of offensive skills. He's not also playing enough to really rack up like rebounding numbers and whatnot. But in a playoff game, he can defend the best bigs in the league, and he can crash the boards with the best of them too. He can also switch pretty well, right? And because of that, he becomes like a really valuable defensive and offensive asset compared to someone like Julius Randle, who really needs the ball in his hands to be effective. And off ball, he's not giving you much. Defensively, he's really not giving you much. And guys like him, even Jared Allen is another guy I think is a good example. People perceive Jared Allen to be a better basketball player than Mitchell Robinson because Jared Allen can average 18 points per game in a regular season like stretch. Mitchell Robinson probably will never average 18 points per game, but Mitch rebounds and defends better than Jared Allen. And in the playoffs, when Jared Allen, if he scores 20, you don't really care. You'd kind of rather have Mitchell Robinson. I think Mobley's a little different. Mobley is really switchable, can stretch the floor a little bit more, etc. But that's kind of my take. I think guys like Mitchell Robinson, Kevon Looney on the Warriors, they present a lot more value than someone like Julius Randle in the playoffs. Which is wild because Julius Randle is going to be an all NBA player this year, and deservedly so. I mean, he put up 24 a game this year. So,
that's I think too, like you were saying about Allen and Mobley, I feel like there's a lot of pressure put on them for getting into this playoffs. This is the first time they've ever been in the playoffs. They've only won one game in the playoffs so far in their careers. Or I don't know if it's Jared Allen's ever first.
Jared was on that Nets team that got smacked around by the Sixers in the first round.
So he's had some playoff experience, but I feel like we're ready. It's been a while, and we are ready to anoint Evan Mobley as this world beater. It's his second year. Give him some time. They'll be fine. The Cavs are fine. The Cavs, I'm not in this camp of, Cavs fumbled the bag, etc. This, that, and the other. I think the Cavs will be just fine. They have great players. They're all young. They don't have a lot of draft picks coming in anymore, but they are really young. And
on that note, I mean, we'll get into this in the offseason, but I would love to see them trade Jared Allen and just play Mobley as the center. I think that'll happen eventually. I don't think that'll happen this year, but I think that will happen eventually. That I would like to see that happen, to be honest.
Yeah,
like the Grizzlies or something. Because the Grizzlies like playing with a center next to JJ. Anyways, that's kind of my take. Knicks, we'll get into their next round series later. The next series we're gonna get to is one that's near and dear to my heart. Warriors Kings. Last time I was on the podcast, it was 2-1, and I came here and I said we're gonna win it in 6. We won 2 games since then. The next game's tonight. Warriors in 6. Not worried. I think we kind of figured something out. Chris Haynes kind of reported that before last game. They felt like the Warriors camp felt like they figured something out, which is a report that always comes out in the middle of Warriors series. But since we don't really lose many series, I don't know if it's cap or the truth. Like I can't tell if that's just like them messing around. But I don't know. De'Aaron Fox fully healthy, not on the injury report. I think we just figured it out. Sabonis is not him. And I don't have too much to say. The first 2 games still scared me a lot. And the Kings could win this game, but I would be shocked.
I would also be surprised. Like you, I also had the Warriors in 6. Mm-hmm. I still felt like it was a toss-up when they were down 0-2 that they couldn't win in 6. We don't care how they get to their 6. They just need to get to their 6. So yeah, absolutely. And the Kings are good at home, and the Warriors didn't have a good road record. So we said they needed 1 road win to win the series, and they got their road win. And they got, even though it was a close game, the Warriors felt like they were in control of that game 5 pretty much from the get-go. Like, I know it was back and forth and everything, but the Warriors really felt like they had a pulse on the game, and they were going to make the tough shots, like Curry dribbling all over the court as far around the court as he could, and then laying that in for the N1, and then Wiggins with that amazing
double dribbling a little bit. But
yeah, but who's gonna get into that in 2045? Weird analogy that something you were saying that made me think of it. This reminds me of, because I equate the Warriors and the Patriots a lot. in terms of who they are now. The Warriors are kind of in their older era, and the Patriots were in their older era in 2018. It reminds me of when the Patriots would kind of have their 2-2 or slower starts in September because they were just trying to figure out kind of how the season was going to look. And this is how the Warriors kind of feel like in this series, where they're like, we haven't lost to a Western Conference team in God knows how long in the playoffs. So since 2013-14 season, when they lost to the Clippers in the first round, that was the last time they lost to a team.
Since Mark Jackson. Yeah.
Since Mark Jackson. Yeah. And I mean, he's a great coach with all due respect. So
with all due respect, and I knocked it out the park.
And I knock it out of the park, all city. But yeah, so it kind of felt like they were just trying to figure out like what was going to work. The one chance that the Kings had to put this away was on a Harrison Barnes 3 that I don't think anybody in that building thought it was going to go in. So that thing rebounded higher than the stanchions. So it's yeah. I mean, I feel like it's probably over. If they were to win, I have pretty good confidence the Warriors could go back into Sacramento and win that game. But I feel like it's probably over.
I actually don't have too much confidence that the Warriors would win a game 7 on the road in Sacramento. Or I don't have too much. Like, I don't think it would be I don't think it would be like, I don't know how to
write it in that they're going to
win. Yeah, exactly. Like, I wouldn't assume they would win. It'd be like more like a 50-50. But I'm not really concerned. I'm not really concerned. I really think they're going to win tonight. And I think it's the vibes were like the Kings felt like they lost the series after they lost last game. And to be honest, the vibes were like they lost the series after they lost game 4, right? After Harrison Barnes missed that, like there's such a difference between being up 3-1 and then 2-2. If they were up 3-1, I mean, the series is probably over.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. The Warriors have come back from down 3-1 before in the West. So
yeah, absolutely. But you know, it is what it is. It is interesting. The Warriors are now running like basically a 6-man lineup. Like they just run their starting group and Poole for 35 minutes a game. And then the next, like Dante will get 15 minutes a game. And then GPT will get 15 minutes a game. We're already basically running with like an NBA finals lineup, which is not great, not ideal. It would be nice to have a little bit more depth, but you know, it is what it is. I'm also not worried if we play the Lakers. Like what I've seen from this series, like I think the Kings are a way better basketball team than the Lakers, to be honest.
I think if the Kings were to advance, I don't think they will, but if they were to advance, I think that the Lakers would give them more trouble. But
yeah, like on an experience / speed aspect, yeah.
Right. And like you were saying with the Sabonis take, if Sabonis is frauding against Looney and Draymond, and I do want to hear your thoughts on Looney in a second. But if he's frauding against them, what's he going to do against AD? So it would definitely be tough if / when the Warriors advance, and if the Lakers make it past. My pick is still in play that the Grizzlies can win in 7. But if that doesn't happen, I think the Warriors are going to run the Lakers off the floor.
I hope you're right. I tend to agree, but we're gonna lose. We're gonna look really bad in one of the games in crypto arena. Like that's just for some reason the Warriors always like whenever we play the Lakers, we have like a stinker in LA. Maybe because Draymond and Steph go partying a little bit too much ahead of time. So after the All-Star break, our first game back after the All-Star break was against the Lakers, and then the Warriors got to LA 2 days ahead of time. Bruh, I know y'all weren't practicing in LA like 2 days ahead of time. Anyways, so we'll see. But yeah, I tend to agree. Looney, I do want to touch on that. Like you said, I think he's amazing. This is the quintessential like winning center. Just like he's playing for the win at all times. If you'd rather have Rudy Gobert on your team than Kevon Looney, I don't think you watch basketball, to be honest, especially right now. Looney's been amazing defensively. Sabonis has been absolutely strapped completely. Sabonis doesn't even he's not even involved enough in the offense to even rack up assists anymore. Who has more assists in this playoff series, Looney or Sabonis? It's Looney. Looney has more assists in this playoff series, not Sabonis. He has more rebounds than Sabonis, better plus minus than Sabonis. Sabonis is scoring like 16 a game in this playoff series. It's I think it's a really good demonstration that like big men in the NBA are very subjective. If you build your whole team around one big man, they better be super good. And I'm not saying the Kings did that, right? They actually didn't, and that's why they're able to win a few other games. But you know, offensive big men, you better be really good come playoff time. You better be Joel Embiid. Like if you're an offensive big man, you better be Joel Embiid, because if you can't switch, not saying Joel can't switch, like Joel can switch, but if you can't switch, you better be like sensational at something. And Sabonis isn't. So sorry, that's my long rant. I also think Looney, the way he's guarding him, the DHOs are completely taken away because Looney can also switch. Like we're willing to switch Clay onto Sabonis and Looney onto Fox, right? So all these handoffs and stuff, it doesn't really like change our defense because we're pretty comfortable with that. Like Looney was guarding Luka half of the Maverick series last year. So
yeah.
anyways, that's my long take. That's my long take.
Yeah. And it's a good take. 15-5 for Looney, and we're not talking about points at all on that.
No.
What is he, like 4 points per game or something like that?
Yeah,
that's fine. That's fine. I mean, the Warriors have done this blueprint before over and over and over with Andrew Bogut. They've done this with Jordan Bell. Yeah. They've done this with JaVale McGee. They've done this with so many centers who they're like, we don't need you to score. We do not. You're good, bro. We'll give you a couple points, like some just cut to the rim, get some dunks, and you're chilling. We have all the scoring we need. We have all the firepower we need. You just be in there. You get the rebounds. You make sure that we close out our defensive possessions. You make sure that you extend our offensive possessions by getting the rebound and kicking it out. And then getting these, and then 5 assists. I never saw 5 assists coming from Kevon Looney. That came out of nowhere. I'm not a Warriors fan, so I wasn't as in tune. So I'm sure you have some more insight on that.
Well, to be honest, like I have seen it coming because it has happened like in games Draymond's missed, because you know how we love the pick and roll action with Draymond comes down and then we have like the low guy and Draymond throws the alley-oop to the low guy, like when we were in the pick and roll with him and Steph. But then what we just did is like Draymond was out. So we we're like, okay, we'll run a Steph Looney pick and roll. Looney will get the ball dropped off to him. GP2's cutting. That's a free dunk. You know, like, and so that's how he racks up a lot of these assists, but it also requires like quick decision making in the paint, which I don't think Looney really had like even a year and a half ago, right? So that stuff's awesome. I love it. Looney's getting paid like less than $10 million a year this year. Rudy Gobert is getting paid $35 million. So
you know, straight.
That's
straight.
Yeah.
Right.
That's all I have to say on it. But yeah, big ups. Like I think this playoffs is like, as obviously I'm a Warriors fan, so I love small ball and I believe in small ball pretty strongly. And Looney is kind of like a small ball center. He's only like 6'10" hypothetically, and he switches really well. But people like him, Mitchell Robinson, those are the centers you want on your team. It's not Jared Allen.
Rob Williams.
Rob Williams, great. Yes, exactly. Rob Williams, where it doesn't matter that he can't shoot the 3 ball because he's so active offensively in handoffs and moving around.
Right.
And then defensively, he can guard basically 1 through 5. Like, you know, that's Rob Williams is probably the best example of that sort of mold in the NBA today, I think.
Right. Sure.
It's a long take. Lakers Grizz, Lakers up 3-2. Grizzlies 2 straight. Or is 2 straight? One straight. One straight.
One straight win so far.
One straight wins. Two out of 3. Yeah, I don't know. I think the Grizz should have won the series, but they sold it. So, but they could still win it. But
yeah, they very well could still win it. LeBron looked really, really bad in that game. Why does he shoot so many threes? I don't get it. Does he think that they're going to start going in anymore?
Well, I think it's like a respect the spacing, because they don't have any other spacing. If he's not willing to shoot the 3, like.
Yeah, but at a certain extent, when you're shooting like 16% from the 3-point line, how can you even like? They're just gonna be like, all right, bro, you can take that. I know he can get hot. I know he can have his like 4 for 6 games. I know he can have his 6 for 8 games.
He can get hot. He'll be 4 for 6.
Yeah, literally. That's him getting hot. Like he does have those games where he can hit 7 threes and you're like, oh, where did this come from? So maybe that game is still like lurking somewhere. Maybe that's tonight. I don't know, but he's looked a bit old. He had a terrible game. He shot like 5 of 17 from the field in this past game. AD played great, but they are going to have to play really great. They have 2 chances to close them out. I think they want to close them out as quickly as possible to give these guys a chance to rest, because the next series is coming and it's coming quick. So
I don't think they're winning a game 7 in Memphis. Like, that stadium is gonna be insane. And if LeBron does, he's on some like legendary stuff, because now the Grizzlies are pretty much as healthy as they're gonna get. I did see Kennard is questionable or doubtful for tonight, which is kind of disappointing. But in the last game, Kennard played a lot more. Dillon Brooks played a lot less, which is something I've been like. The issue is with the Grizzlies, right? If they go with JJJ at the 5 and you're playing or if you have Tillman and JJJ, right? And then you have Brooks, Bane, and Ja. That's 3 guys that are under 6'5", and then you don't really have a wing. You have no one between that 6'5", 6'10" range. And Kennard's still small, but at least defensively, you're probably the same. I know Dillon Brooks is a better defender than Kennard, but he doesn't offer more length than Kennard. And offensively, it just spreads out the whole offense because Dillon Brooks can't shoot. So that was a big adjustment they had last game. Kennard was plus 26, and I think Dillon Brooks was minus 13, something like that.
You're right. Exactly.
Yeah. So, that was a great move. He is questionable, but adjustments like that make me a little bit the Lakers might throw this. I don't know.
They could. And if Desmond Bane is giving the Lakers fits like he did in this last game with 33 points, going crazy from 3, Ja's obviously not chipping in, but Ja's playing as amazing as well. If Desmond Bane's doing that, and we're assuming the Warriors will advance, and if the Lakers do advance, what are they going to do with Steph Curry? We don't need to predict a series that has not come into fruition yet, but this is an interesting series, and my takeaway from the series is that neither of these teams have given much confidence. But I do think that the Grizzlies would have a better chance of beating the Warriors should they advance than if the Lakers were to.
Oh, I want to play the Lakers so bad. I have no interest in playing a momentum-filled Grizzlies. Ja got hurt. They're going to be everyone's on Dillon Brooks, but we still 3-1 the Lakers, which shouldn't have, you shouldn't have been in that spot, but it's they're going to come in with a lot of momentum, and they're going to have home court, which I think is something interesting. If we played the Lakers, we would have home court, which that would be nice. I'm a Lakers fan until Sunday, and then I'll switch back to being a Warriors fan, unless the Warriors lose tonight, in which case I'm just going to jump off a bridge. So we'll see how that goes. Celtics Hawks, let's touch on that. I don't have too much to say. I didn't take too much from this series. It makes me nervous about the Celtics. Some of the bench stuff, some of the coaching stuff. They definitely are beatable and they are human, but they're the best team left, in my opinion.
I am looking up real quick. The Hawks so this is from October 2022. The Hawks were predicted to win. Let's see. What were the Hawks predicted? I'm pretty sure they went under. Yeah, they were predicted to win. This is Bleacher Report, but their odds to start this season, or no, here's Basketball Reference. Their odds to start the season were Hawks, 46.5 wins. So they didn't reach that. I think that they finally, I'll give them a bit of credit. I think that they finally started to get closer to the potential that they had. I think Trae Young finally got a bit more comfortable in the series. So I won't just say this is the Celtics floundering it. That being said, when in the last 6 minutes of a game 5, when you give up 23 points and you only score 8, what are you supposed to do? And then a quick ode to Marcus Smart here is that he does this thing, and my roommate had come in and watched. My other roommate, who's a huge basketball fan, and we were watching this game with another one of our buddies. And my roommate, who knows nothing about basketball, goes, I feel like every time I come in here, you guys are pissed off about Marcus Smart. and he didn't play great at the end of game 5, these weird ticky-tack fouls that he kept committing, turning the ball over. And then he goes into game 6, redeems himself, hits one of the biggest shots of the series to close it when the Hawks kept hitting series threes to push it back to 5. And we were like, But and then that sick. Did you see that sick move that Smart had right at the end to put them back up 7, where he's like driving in the lane and then he does like the kind of kick out and Trey just like falls for it and then Smart just like lays it in off the glass. So that was sexy. So yeah, 21, I think 4-4 for Smart. So and Jalen and Tatum played fine. So good series. Went a little bit longer than I would have liked to see, but I'm just glad that we're out of it, and I'm glad that we are my biggest thing after game 5 was that there was going to be an injury. That was my biggest worry. That was that the Celtics were wasting an injury game, wasting rest, giving Embiid more time to rest. But they got through it and on to the next round.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have too much to say. Hawks, we'll get into them in the offseason. They're still a little bit of a mess, but like, I don't know. What am I taking away from this series? I'm not like, oh, they're going to be a championship contender anytime soon, right? So,
right.
That's kind of feel about that. Celtics, I'm also not taking too much from it.
Right.
We'll get into Celtics 76ers later, of course. T-Wolves Nuggets. I don't have too much to say on this. I just want to touch on this. This got finished up. Obviously, the T-Wolves, there's a little bit of drama. They lose game 5 only by 3 points, so close game, which is important to remember. I thought the T-Wolves played quite well given the circumstances. And Edwards runs off the court. There was a chair which allegedly hits someone, and he's doing court for that on assault battery. I don't know, something charges.
It's a chair.
Yeah. Also, I couldn't tell if he even hit him. Like, I saw the video. There was like another fan angle of the incident. I don't know. Anyways, and Edwards then after the game was liking comments about the Rudy Gobert trade being one of the worst trades in history on Instagram. I don't know if you saw this, but I agree. I agree with Ant. I don't know if you should be liking comments saying that if that's your teammates. But it was like a pretty catastrophic season from the T-Wolves. And I think the fact that they traded their whole future to literally end up in the same spot. I don't know. Someone's going to get fired there quick, whether it's a coach, whether it's a manager. It's not going to be in the offseason now. I'm sure they'll get the beginning of next year to keep rolling. But if they don't get results quick next year, people are going to get fired. People are going to get traded quick because now pressure's on. New ownership's also there. So, yeah.
I also don't have too much to say. This was definitely the series I had the least amount of interest in, even though I think we both do have the you don't have the Timberwolves making the finals. You have the Timberwolves advancing, but sorry, I keep confusing those two teams. They're just in the middle of the country and they need to not in the middle of the country. The Nuggets. I think we both had the Nuggets winning in either 4 or 5. I tend to give teams the underdog a game just for the sake of a game, and so I think I had them in 5 here. So I didn't really take too much away from this. I just think the Nuggets were way better. Jokic played amazing as per usual, averaged practically a triple-double. Playoff Jamal Murray, Bubble Murray is looking like he's playing pretty well again. So that's going to be super fun. Excited to talk about that preview for the next series that they're going to have. We will certainly get into the Timberwolves offseason in a future podcast. That's what it's going to be really nice about this podcast is over the summer, we're going to have all this time to kind of talk about different trades that are going down, different free agent signings, all that beautiful stuff. We're too locked into the playoffs right now to really get into all that. But
it doesn't make sense to like go through all that now, especially when we don't know like some of like the coaching moves and there's like rumors to be had still. So, yeah.
Right. But I'm with you in terms of like, it was such a disastrous trade for the Timberwolves. I think this is a trade that 85% of fans first guessed that it wasn't going to work. I think the only difference was a lot of fans thought, well, this is going to make them a great regular season team, then they will flame out in the playoffs. But the only thing they were wrong about was it did not make them a great regular season team, and they did flame out in the playoffs. So I feel like everybody was pretty on consensus that it felt like that you're not as hot on this take as I am with Westbrook. But when Westbrook got traded to the Lakers, I had a similar thought, way more so with Gobert getting traded to the Timberwolves of like, do they think that they're like the smartest guys in the room and they know something that we don't know? Is Gobert about to step it up to this like next level where his defensive impact becomes stronger? He becomes a better offensive player. Like he's getting older. What is he now? 30, 31? He's
30.
Yeah, he's Rudy Gay. He's 30 years old. So I don't know. Maybe he'll become more comfortable next season. I think it would be stupid to say, okay, this didn't work in one season, so we're going to just trash it. But at the same time, you have to let Anthony Edwards get better and you have to let Cat get better. So I don't really know what they're doing here.
I'm going to be honest. I'd probably trade Gobert and Cat like off the rip. I'd literally go into the offseason and just trade both of them. Let's just clean slate it and go from there. That's what I would do because McDaniels is also due for an extension here. And Ant's going to have his extension coming up. And it's like the money's going to pile up quick. Gobert hasn't been good in years, bro. I have not been a Gobert believer. He won the last 2 defensive players of the year he won specifically are just totally fraudulent, in my opinion. If you can't play in a playoff series, like, I don't know. Sorry.
That's the issue with the regular season.
I do not like Gobert. I think he's been overrated for a while, and the fact that Walker Kessler is already better than him should tell you all you need to know about him. Okay, so moving on, Suns Clippers. Obviously that finished up in 5. Kawhi missed the back end of the series. There were some controversial comments from some media people about his injury. I don't really have much to say about that. It's just kind of unfortunate. He tried to play and he looked great when he did play, and then it came out he had torn meniscus. It's just unfortunate. I hope he gets better. I'm not confident he will, right? But like, it is what it is. Suns side of it, I don't think the role players are very good. Nothing new. But we'll get into that later, I guess.
My biggest takeaways from the Clippers season is that I really liked the decision to sign Russ. I thought he played really, really well, given how poorly he looked in LA with the Lakers. So he didn't go very far. It's a tough. It's sad. I feel bad for Kawhi. I think at this point, it seems like he must have some autoimmune degenerative thing where just because he has another torn meniscus. So these injuries just kind of keep stacking up, and he's getting older and older. So hopefully he has a couple of good like playoff run type seasons left in him. If I would have to guess, that over under is probably 1.5 of good playoff runs where he does not get injured. In how old is he? Like 32. So it could happen. It could happen. I hope it does. I'm with you. I think we both had Suns winning this series because Paul George was out. I think we both had them at 7 winning.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
And so I'm not taking anything too far away from this. On the other hand of that, Booker has been an absolute stud in these playoffs. 37 a game. 5 boards, 6 assists, 2.5 steals, 60% from the floor, 47% from 3. KD's been an amazing quote unquote second option. 28, 8, 6, 52% from the field, 46% from 3. So they're playing amazing. Chris Paul is playing amazing from the mid range. So this series went about how people expected it to. So I don't think the Clippers are in the most dire position to move forward. So I don't really have too much to say in terms of how it affects my decision making on the Suns. Like you, the lack of depth is a bit of a worry for the Suns. So we'll have to see how that translates in the next series.
Yeah, I feel the same way. The Clippers thing is just kind of unfortunate, and they're kind of locked into their situation, right? So we'll see. I mean, that another thing we'll get into during the offseason, probably, I guess. Right. Okay, now that we're done reviewing all the series, there's 3 series we need to preview, and then we'll let you guys go. Okay, so first one, Heat Knicks. I'll just throw my prediction out there off the rip, man. I got the Knicks in 6. I was incredibly impressed by them. I think they have so many things they can do, so many adjustments. Randall had a bad series, and honestly, I kind of expect them to have another not so great series. They have so many other guys who can do stuff between Hart, quickly, Brunson, Randall, Robinson, Toppin's playing like key minutes sometimes. Randall's off the bench in the 4th, or he's on the bench in the 4th, right? Sometimes. They have a lot of things they can do. The Heat, I'm not sure they do. Spoelstra might come up with something amazing, and we'll see. I just think there's a depth gap, but yeah.
Huge depth gap. I think the Knicks are riding really high right now. I think when the Heat face the Bucks, I think the Bucks were just looking too far ahead. They were looking for the Celtics, really. That's what it felt like to me. It just felt like they were just going to kind of move past. The Celtics did a bit of that with the Hawks too. The difference is the Celtics took care of business. I'm going to say, and that's my take on where the series is going to go. I just don't know what's going to happen.
Oh my God. I was like, dude,
You thought I was muted?
I was like, bro, your audio cut out.
Yeah. No, that's my way of saying I really don't know. And I want to stop making friggin' predictions because they just don't work. But I will say, I think I'm going to ride the Heat wave a little bit. I think that the Heat can win in 7. And that's because I think the Knicks could also win in 7, but I'll take the Heat in 7 just because I think the best player on the court is going to be Jimmy Butler. Like you said, the Knicks, their 2 through 8 or whatever is going to mostly be filled with Knicks players, but we just see consistently time after time Jimmy elevating these teams. So if he can go into God mode for a couple of these games, I thought he could win the Bucks a couple of games, or the Heat a couple of games in the first round. He won them 3, maybe 4. So I'm gonna say Heat in 7. The reason why is because I will give that respect to the Knicks in terms of I think that Thibodeau is much more prepared for Jimmy Butler. I think that Josh Hart, Jalen Brunson, Emmanuel quickly have that dog in them that the Bucks just didn't seem to have this year. So I'm gonna go Heat in 7, and that's where I'm gonna take it.
Yeah, I mean, and just for clarity, we just do the predictions for fun, right? I mean, we don't like sometimes after game 1, our feelings on the series change and whatnot. Like we're not married to these predictions. Like we're just kind of throwing it out there ahead of time. Like I have the Knicks in 6, right? But the Heat could win in 5. Like, to be honest, like it's possible. Yeah. Like I don't even want to rule that out. The Knicks could also win in 4. Like, I don't know. Neither of us are black and white like that, where we're just gonna rule anyone out, especially Jimmy Butler.
I will say the last thing on that, it's so exciting that we get to see these guys play off, because besides that one-off year where the Knicks with Melo faced the Heat and they obviously had no chance to beat them, this feels like one of those late 90s series.
Yes, it does.
The Heat are just going at it. And so this just feels it's giving the 90s energy. And I'm so here for it. While the Celtics and the Sixers are on the other side battling it out. Like Knicks, Heat, Celtics, Sixers. How iconic of an Eastern Conference semifinals do we have?
I mean, even if you think about the West, it's about to be probably Nuggets, Suns, Warriors, Lakers.
Elite.
Same thing on the other side. It's just like all the teams. Plus, I mean, the Nuggets, not like they're an old team. I don't want to say they're like a classic team, but
they're such an old team, and I don't think they've ever made the finals before.
Nope, never.
In the history of their franchise, like that's
were crazy. They made in the 70s? Were they an expansion in the 70s or early 80s?
They've been in the league since the 70s, because they were there throughout the 80s with Alex English. And they also had David Thompson in the late 70s. So they've
exactly. So they had to exist in the 70s. Yeah. So and then in the 90s, they were just in the dirt.
They were in the gutter in the 90s.
Yeah,
so they've made it to the conference finals quite a few times, but they've never made it past that into the finals. And so I think they might be the longest NBA team to not make the finals.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. Yeah. I mean, well, there you go. I mean, that all these series are going to be, even if the Grizzlies make it through, I know it's like not the Lakers, but that series will probably be more competitive, like basketball wise. So it's like all these series are gonna be great. Last thing on the Heat and the Knicks, people like Quentin Grimes haven't been getting that much of a run for the Knicks.
He's hurt. He's out for the season, I think.
Is he? Oh, he's done for the season fully?
I'm like 75% sure. Let me look.
Okay, well. Anyways, I'll take that back. But I just mean the Knicks still have guys, even like Jericho Sims and people like that, who I feel like haven't been getting that much of a run, who could still make an impact in a series. So I'm just very curious about that. I think Jimmy Butler might average 40 again in the series, to be honest.
Oh, wait. And he could. I'm lying. Quentin Grimes is injured, but there's a chance he could make it back during the middle of the series. So
sweet. Cool.
So that
next series close to your heart, Sixers Celtics. Anthony, you have the floor. Go ham.
Oh, I'm gonna say Celtics in either an easy 6 or a tough 5. I don't have too much
Ooh.
to add to this. I think James Frauden is not that guy. I'm gonna go in on these guys a little bit. Tyrese Maxey's probably the guy that scares me the most, just because
Yeah.
he's a bit of a dog. But in my mind, I feel like we have 3 versions of Tyrese Maxey and our 3 guards. So 3 is more than 1. So we're good on that. I feel like we can definitely shut James Harden down. I feel like we play at a pace that's way too fast for him to handle. You talked about it. I think you actually sent me a stat showing that James Harden's been like the slowest guy. Was it the playoffs or the regular season?
Average miles per hour in the playoffs by any player for the last 5 playoffs straight. The lowest has been James Harden. So lowest average speed for the last 5 straight playoffs.
Right. So I don't. The Heat have beat the Celtics have beat the Sixers. I don't remember the last time we lost to the Sixers in the playoffs. So I feel very confident about this. I hope I don't have to eat my words on this. We can let Embiid go for 40 every single night. That's just fine with me. The one time they beat him, he had 52 and they barely beat us. So I don't really know. The one thing I am worried about is that the Celtics in the last couple of playoffs have had this bad history of, like, as the series is coming closer to the end and they've reached like 3 wins or 2 wins, they get a little bit tight. That's a consistency I noticed. When we were playing against your Warriors in the finals, we got really, really tight in game 4.
Yeah.
And the Warriors felt very comfortable, which is why I don't want to see you guys in the finals.
I want to see y'all for sure.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I'm gonna go like this. I'm like I'll be a Lakers fan next series. I don't care. But for this series, I think Celtics in 5 or Celtics in 6. I think Embiid will eat, and that's just fine. But they just, there's, I don't know. PJ Tucker's old. I don't know who's going to stop our wings defensively. So I think the mismatches favor us in terms of everything except for Embiid, and so that's fine. He can get his points, and I think we'll counteract it with all of our depth.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's all great points. I like the Maxey and the points about Maxey and Embiid. I mean, realistically, Embiid's gonna have to score like 45 a game to win this series. Again, that's just the issue with having a center as your best player, unless James Harden and Maxey step up in ways that I don't necessarily believe they can. I'm a big believer in Maxey, Harden. It's a playoff series, man. So we're gonna have to see what we get from Harden. That said, I'm gonna pick the Celtics in 6, but I actually think it could very well be the Celtics in 7.
Okay.
I'd be pretty surprised if it was Celtics in 5. Some of the coaching stuff's been a little bit weird with the Celtics, and between that and a bad Tatum game and an Embiid takeover game, I think there's 2 games worth of victories at least for Philly in there. I would be very, very surprised if Philly won this series. I don't think Philly matches up well against the Celtics at all. I think I've heard from some Philly fans who believe that they match up very well against the Celtics. If a team has Rob Williams and Al Horford and 8,000 guards, you probably don't match up well against them if you're the Sixers. Not to mention Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Last thing, I did want to get your comments on this. I saw a controversial nickname for Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. They called them the law firm, like Brown and Tatum.
Yeah. That's been around for a bit.
Dude, that sucks. I do not like that.
Oh, yeah.
It's like Ben Jarvis Green Ellis was the law firm. He's the OG law firm when he was
Ben Jarvis and Green Ellis.
Yeah, no, that's what they called him, right? I'm like 99% sure. That's when I think the law firm. I think Ben Jarvis Green Ellis, Patriots legend. That's a
yeah. Well, what a poll, dude! Fantastic poll.
Unreal name drop.
He will never be lost in the history of NFL lore just based on his name alone.
Exactly.
He's fantastic. Yeah. I prefer like the Jays or when they were 7-Eleven or what. I mean, they're not anymore. I don't think their number jerseys are 7-Eleven, but I don't know. I think I don't care about what their nicknames are. Just win this series, win the finals. And then I'll give you law firm, I'll give you doctorate, I'll give you police academy, I'll give you whatever the hell you want. Just go ahead and take care of business.
Fair enough.
And that's what lawyers do. So if you want to be lawyers, you take care of business. And then I'll give you that respect.
I mean, they don't got a nickname like the Splash Bros, but
No, bro, the Splash Bros are elite. You can't.
that's
You
an
can't.
elite nickname. That's just such an elite name.
It's such an elite nickname, and not only is it an elite nickname, it is an elite nickname that was given to them before their dynasty even started. So it's just like
it's just that's why it's like legit as fuck. But yeah,
yeah,
I don't love the law firm. That was
fine.
my last
They'll figure
opinion
out
on this. That was my last opinion on this series. Basically, that's why I had it in 7 instead of 6.
Yeah.
No, but realistically, the last thing is just Celtics have home court. That's like a big deal to me in this series. I have Philly had home court. I might almost pick Philly in 7. This has been a weird playoffs, but I'd be very surprised if Philly won. That's my last.
I think the Celtics, should they continue to advance, etc., I think they have home court for the rest of the playoffs because they had. Well, I don't know. I don't know how that works. I don't know if a 1 seed in a different conference. No. It's whoever.
It's just based off record, I believe, at that point.
So they have home court, assuming they continue to win. So that's something I'm quite happy about.
Last series that we got to cover: Suns and Nuggets. I'm gonna take this one, right?
Take it.
When you watch NBA basketball, right, you're looking for a team. You're looking for, you got the stars, you got the Batman, you got the Robin, and then you got the Andre Iguodala, and then you got the Steve Kerr who's getting punched in practice, right? You got like people, you got personalities. Everyone kind of comes together and makes up a team, right? And like, how you make a team, right? You like cultivate it over a few years, maybe not even a few years, maybe over 1 year. Maybe you have an off season, right? Maybe you're Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, and MPJ, and you've played the last 5 years together, right? And now you're surrounded by your KCP, your Midi high school alumni, Aaron Gordon. Shout out Bay Area. Now, so you have all these pieces, right? It's like a team, right? When you think of team sports, basketball, it's like a team. I got the Nuggets. That's the takeaway. My long thing, say I got the Nuggets. I don't believe in this model of team like the Suns. They built their team, got together like this year, and when 2023 started, this team wasn't fully formed together. They haven't looked good. Their role players haven't looked good. D-Book and KD look good. Sorry, I should say that. They've looked good.
They've looked amazing.
Yeah, but they're not a team, man. I'm willing to be proven wrong, right? They have 2 of the top 10 players in the league, but
yeah. So that's a pretty solid take. I think that we had shared that take. I think did you say so? You said Nuggets win. Did you say number of games?
Let's say I want to say 5, man. I want to say 5.
Wow. Okay. To begin, when we first did our initial playoff bracket, we both had obviously both of those teams advancing. I had the Nuggets beating the Suns in 7. I'm a little less gung-ho than you are about the Nuggets winning as dominantly, although like you, I do think that they'll win. I'm looking at there's 5 guys on the Suns that score double-digit points. There's 6 guys on the Nuggets that score double-digit points. I think that this is going to be tricky because Jamal Murray has been playing out of his mind. 27 a game, 5 boards a game, 6 assists a game. Jokic is averaging damn near triple-double. MPJ is finally hitting his stride, hitting 3-point shots. I mean, the Nuggets are shooting 39% from 3. This postseason. To be fair, the Suns are shooting 40% from 3. So it's definitely that's why I think it's a bit closer of a toss up. That being said, like you were saying, the Suns didn't have to play a star in the playoffs besides those 2 games. And when they did have to play a star, they lost the first game, and then it was a super, super close game. And then those other games, yeah, they won, but they weren't very convincing games necessarily. So this is definitely a series where I could see, I don't know what Aiden's going to do against Jokic. That's a huge, huge mismatch. And then I think Jamal Murray and Devin Booker, they're not equal, but Booker doesn't clear by that much. So, we'll see. I mean, this is really going to be, can the stars in Phoenix shine as brightly as possible? Because if not, I think the Nuggets are hungry, man. They've had so many so close things, and I think Jamal Murray's really, really hungry, and he's been turning it up.
Yeah, I mean, that's all totally fair. The reason I'm also saying Nuggets in 5 is kind of for the hot take. Like if I had like a gun to my head, I'm probably saying Nuggets in 7, right?
Right.
But just like you're saying, like I'm incredibly impressed by Jamal Murray, and the rest of the players, like the rest of the role players are playing well. I was also very low on the T-Wolves. Like I thought the Nuggets honestly should have swept them, and it almost went 6 games, you know. But I'm not going to take too much out of that. The Suns, I think, they're going to be playing this battle the whole time of like, we need D-Book to play 42 minutes and KD to play 42 minutes. And then who are the other 4 people on the court? Like, how do we figure, or the other 3, I guess, most of the time, people on the court, like, how do we figure out all those in between minutes? Cause like Damian Lee is playing like 15 minutes a game. And dude, I've watched some of the games. Like he looks bad.
8 minutes a game.
But you know, like they can't get 10 minutes out of a game out of Damian Lee. Like this guy is bad. Torrey Craig, though, for example, like that's a guy where they found him and he can play any sort of minutes. So he plays like 25, you know, like he's not great. As much as I think I gave him some respect on our last podcast, but you know.
Yeah. I mean, he's playing solid. I mean, he's 12 a game. He's shooting. He's making the threes, and he's about 65% from the field. But like you're saying, real quick, I want to talk about the minutes. For the Nuggets, Murray's 38 minutes a game, Jokic is 37, MPJ's 36, Aaron Gordon is less than 33 a game. Talking about the Suns, both Booker and KD are more than 43 minutes a game. So
exactly,
and Chris Paul's up to 39 minutes a game. So
Chris Paul's playing more than Jokic. Like, what do we? I don't know.
So
very skeptical. I'm very, very skeptical. I also, when you go to altitude in Denver, are you going to play these guys more or less? Like, it's going to be harder. Like, they're going to be gassed even more, but the role players, that might be even harder for them to step in. Like, I don't know. I don't love it.
Totally. Yeah. It's way easier. And that's the other weird thing about why the Nuggets have never made like a finals before, because this is the
home court.
This is the first season they've ever had the number 1 seed in the West. But like you'd figure, like if you're playing all season at altitude and then you go to a team that's like in a Phoenix where they're sea level, you're going to be able to run with them real well. So
totally agree.
This is going to be, I will say, this will be a very exciting series.
Oh, this might be the best, like in terms of like basketball, this might be the best basketball series, like most lit basketball in the playoffs. Like Suns Nuggets, bro, like insane. This is basically like Nets, like what we like the Nets team at the beginning of the season, if they were in the West, like basically Nets like Nuggets, which would have been lit. It's just D-Book is there instead of Kyrie, and D-Book's better than Kyrie, so so I think we covered pretty much all of it. Obviously we had to start you guys off with a curveball with the Ime Udoka conversation, but we decided to throw that in there. I guess tonight we're gonna be watching Lakers Grizzlies and Warriors Kings. When the Warriors win tonight, don't text me because no.
and if they don't text him either.
And if they don't, like, well, I won't be able to text you back. Like, I don't know. I'll be watching Juice WRLD like in person, bro. It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah.
I'm at the Juice WRLD live concert, bro. If the Warriors don't win tonight, because bro, do you think I'm surviving a Game 7 in Sacramento? Like, and I'm sitting on my like butt, like watching it on TV. Like, I'm literally gonna have like stress issues, high blood pressure, pacemaker. Might not even be enough. Anyways,
one-way ticket to the Golden Gate Bridge, my friend. One-way ticket to the Golden Gate Bridge.
Anyways, I'll throw it over to you. This was a fun little playoff check-in. We'll do another one of these next week. But is there anything else that you want to talk about?
Nah, man. Thanks for listening. There's a chance we might have to throw an emergency pod in the middle of the week if some crazy stuff happens for like half-hour type beat. But thanks for listening to us. And as always, we'll be here spitting hoops.
Y'all be easy now.
All right.